Happy hump day, good people. Welcome to another edition of Double Innocence with your boy E-Dub here, gem dropper, showstopper. Well now, Lakers got a sound beating last night, wouldn't you say? The Philadelphia 76ers administered a sound, and when I say a sound, I mean a sound beating to those Los Angeles Lakers. And I know people out there are going to say, oh yeah, you know, AD got hurt. Listen, any one of you individuals that thought that AD was going to make it through an entire season without missing a couple of games because of injury are absolutely delusional. Plain and simple. We got an opportunity to see, you know, Daddy's daycare yesterday. You know, we got to see father and son on the court at the same time. And I feel safe enough to say that Junior plays a hell of a lot better defense than Senior. And Junior's defense ain't shit. The sad thing about it is that they basically played the B staff for the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid didn't play. Paul George didn't play. The twin, Martin, didn't play. The only starter or real starter they had on the court last night was Maxey for Philadelphia. And yet still, Philadelphia ran circles around the Lakers. So my question to you guys is, what happened to Pat Riley and his beautiful offensive and defensive mind? Oh, I get it. Last night was an off night. Oh, I understand. Last night they just felt that it was going to be an easy win for them. They didn't take anything serious because they knew Philadelphia was missing a lot of players. So they weren't really focused on this game. Okay. How could you possibly have a so-called superstar on your team and you're not prepared to play a team that you're supposed to beat without their stars? But LeBron James almost averaged a triple-double last night again. Some amazing work, wouldn't you say? I mean, to be able to put all those points on the board? Wow. Especially when you're on the court in the fourth quarter, where the game is out of reach. You're down by what, 17, 19 points or whatever the case may be. Game's out of reach. Philadelphia's already started emptying their bench. Remember, Philadelphia was playing their bench for the majority of their game. Now they're replacing the bench with more bench. But LeBron James is still on the court in the fourth quarter. He's still doing damage in the fourth quarter. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the start of the fourth quarter, they were down by 19. By the time LeBron James finally decided to call it a night, they were down by 17. Does that make sense to anybody out there? How much sense does it make to have a LeBron James in a game that's totally out of reach in the fourth quarter? How much sense does that really make? And when you see stuff like that, does that make you think that there's a coach running that team? Or is LeBron James basically calling his own shots? Because forget about a superstar in his prime. The majority of times would not be out on the court at that particular point in time when the game's out of reach. And I'm going to say it again. A superstar in his prime would not be on the court at that time. Why would you have an aging superstar out in the fourth quarter with a game out of reach if he's not stat padding? I'll wait. And then people want to know why it is that dinosaurs like myself have such a big problem with referring to a person like a LeBron James as the GOAT. He's not doing GOAT-like things. A lot of us individuals that had the opportunity to witness GOATs in our era, we're not used to seeing people do stuff like this, man. In my lifetime, do you know how many fourth quarters Michael Jordan sat out? A lot of the times because they already had the team that they were playing beat by the end of the third quarter. They're already up by double digits. Anybody from my era, anybody from back in the day of watching the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls, how many times did we see Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and whoever else, all the real important players, sitting on the bench in the fourth quarter with their legs stretched out, ice bands wrapped around their knees? That just lets you know that they weren't coming back in the game. Once you saw those players put the ice with the wraps around their knees and they stretched out and folded their arms like that, that means it's a night. We did what we have to do. You guys bring it home. And you would think that after what happened to a Derrick Rose in Chicago would strengthen that type of message, to not have your superstars on the court during garbage time, during a time where where nothing that they do is really going to make a difference on the outcome of the game. You remember Derrick Rose when he was at the height of his career playing for Thibodeau, where Tibbs was an individual that rode his players hard, and he had Derrick Rose in the game, a game that was out of reach, and he got that knee injury that basically altered his entire career. Derrick Rose came back, still did damage, but he was never the same. You see, that's the reason why you don't leave superstars in the game during garbage time, because you're not getting there's a possibility you might not get a good return on your investment. So once again, why is LeBron James in the game during garbage time and it's not the first time? Why? Because I can honestly tell you, I don't think it's helping his legacy talk. I think if anything, it's probably ruining it. In my humble opinion, I think that all this grasping at the numbers and all that kind of stuff, trying to be the best in every single accolade where numbers are concerned, while you're so busy chasing that particular dream, I personally think you're starting to chip away at your own legacy, which is a good thing. I'm okay with that. Because yes, I do think you have a legacy. I just don't think your legacy is as great as you think it is. So go ahead, my friend. Chip away at it. Do what you do. Ruin it. Because the majority of superstars that I grew up knowing, that I grew up having the opportunity to watch and stuff like that, they definitely wouldn't want to be going out the way in which it looks like you're going out. They wouldn't want to be losing to teams and being embarrassed and annihilated the way in which this particular season you're being annihilated and embarrassed. A lot of times by a team of nobodies. And unfortunately, keep your fingers crossed and pray to the heavens that Anthony Davis's injury is not long-term. Because if you guys want an opportunity in any game that you guys play this season, you have to make sure that Anthony Davis is part. is part of everything that you guys are trying to do that on that particular evening. Because if Anthony Davis is not playing, in my eyes, that gives the Lakers a 40% chance, a 60% chance of winning a game without Anthony Davis. And maybe that percentage is even a little bit too high. Maybe I might want to flip that. Maybe there's a good possibility on depending on who you guys are playing. You guys have a 40% chance of winning without an Anthony Davis. Now, Bronny Jr. You know, I've seen them talk a lot about what you've been doing in the G League and stuff like that, about how you're finally putting a package together and you're doing some great things. By chance, did you leave that game in the G League last night? Because my goodness, you look like somebody that they picked out of the crowd to come in just to round up a starting five on the court to get a run. You look totally out of place. And the sad thing about it is, this should have been a game that you should have looked half decent in, because of the mere fact of the matter that Philadelphia wasn't playing none of their powerhouses. They were playing their bench and their role players. So a game like that, you should have been able to show all the improvement that you've been making throughout the season. The game you played last night looked like your very first game in preseason. You looked out of place. You looked like you didn't know what to do. You didn't know where to be. Pat Riley, JJ Redick, how in the world are you going to take this young gentleman off of the bench and tell him to match up against Maxey? Are you losing the right side of your mind, bruh? You expected Bronny James to have any kind of effect or slow down Maxey? Well, I'm really happy that Nick Nurse and the whole Philadelphia coaching staff exposed your outstanding defensive schemes. Every chance he took, every chance he had, he exposed it. And then once Anthony Davis went down, that was it. It was over. It was a wrap. I didn't even start watching the game. So when I tuned into the game, Anthony Davis was already gone. But by that time, if I'm not mistaken, Philadelphia already had something like a 20-something point lead on you guys. And at no point in time was that lead ever in jeopardy. Now, LeBron, I'm going to continue to say it. Numbers don't lie, obviously. So you are what they say you are to this game. In this era. And this era alone. And if you don't watch yourself, there's going to be somebody that's going to come and knock you off of your throne in this era. Like I said, if you want to just chalk it up to numbers and stuff like that, I suggest you pay attention to Luka Doncic's numbers. Okay, he's injured now, and I don't know how long his injury is going to be. That might have an effect on his pace or whatever the case may be. But mark my words, LeBron. Every morning you wake up, make sure you look in that rearview mirror to see exactly how much distance you have between yourself and Luka Doncic. Because that's the individual that's going to not only catch up to your numbers, but he's going to destroy your numbers in the long run. That's all I got to say to you. Luka Doncic, as far as I'm concerned, is a Caucasian version of a LeBron James. Not so much this season. He's kind of toned it down a little bit. I'm hoping that, whoever's had to speak to him is speaking to him. But all that to say, he's an individual when he's not doing all the theatrics and all that kind of stuff and jumping up and down and begging for calls that he did not get, because he sees his so-called superstar of the league doing it on a regular daily basis and getting away with it. So he figures that he should be able to get away with it too. But when he's not invested in doing all that kind of nonsense, he just pays attention to playing the game, it's a whole different result. Why? Because Luka has a package. He has stuff he can go to. He has his fadeaway shot. He has his step back. He has his dribble to get by you and finish at the hoop. It's a package. He doesn't have just that one move that he considers bully ball that would probably be more effective in the NFL than it is in the NBA. I mean, I'll be honest with you. This entire season, I have not seen LeBron James set one screen that's not an illegal screen. If you look at all the screens that he sets, if it was anybody else, that's a foul and the ball's going in the opposite direction. Because the way I know a screen has to be set, you've got to be positioned and you're not supposed to move. If you notice, every single time LeBron James sets a screen, as soon as he gets a contact, he moves into the contact to make sure that person stays with him. Because he's got the switch that he wants now. Now, if he does what he's supposed to do and just stand still, there's a possibility that whoever he's setting that screen on could step around that screen. Because they might have seen it coming a little bit beforehand. The minute LeBron James moves with that screen, it is a violation. A moving screen. But if the referees are allowing LeBron James to get away with this in the NBA and continue to call him the king, how are individuals like myself that coach basketball, how are we supposed to teach the younger generation how to do stuff like that? And the reason why I'm talking about something as simple as that is because the last game that my high school team played, we got called for a moving screen all day long. Just for that simple thing. Setting the screen and moving a little bit with it. Setting that screen, moving your hip into it. Any movement whatsoever was a moving violation. So we got referees at the high school level that know exactly what a proper screen is and a legal screen is, but we got individuals that are that NBA officials and so-called superstars that don't know how to set a proper screen, and NBA officials that don't know how to call it a moving screen. There's something wrong. In my humble opinion, there's something definitely wrong. All that to say, the Roosters have come home to crow and hatch their eggs. And the Lakers are getting exactly what they rightfully deserve this season. It's something that anybody who's followed basketball for a period of time saw the writing on the wall moons ago, that this is what was going to be happening. And now, this is what's happening. I want you guys to share. I need you guys to like, and hey, don't be shy. Hit those subscribe buttons. Help this channel grow. W Innocence. Drop in gems, people. Drop in gems. LeBron James, man. Listen. We need you to do better. King James. We need you to do better. Please. I'm not sure exactly who you guys are playing next, but I'm hoping, first of all, that you guys get Anthony Davis back. And second of all, hopefully you guys start to learn how to play a little bit better defense, man. I mean, LeBron James, your defense is totally suspect. But the team on a whole needs to work on their whole defensive scheme. I want you guys to have yourself a blessed Wednesday, people. Happy hump day. The streets of Montreal are absolutely horrible today, people. Be careful driving. Dress warm. Have yourself a blessed day. Deuces.